Hi, everybody. Let's talk about setting up a portfolio. Using your images and your text to create a nice presentation of your work using Adobe InDesign. And this is going to be set up with the idea that this is going to be a printed portfolio, something that you're going to print and share for job opportunities and the like. So let's talk about using master pages and a few other things to help set up our project in the best streamlined way so we get the best results. All right, so let me share my screen and we'll get underway. So here you have a sample image of a portfolio that I use right now for myself to kind of promote my illustration and promote my work. So in this case, what I like to do is set up a nice cover, and then I have interior pages that are used for each one of the portfolio items. Now, this is set up in the format that would be used in portfolio pre-printed portfolio sleeves. So you would have each page printed separately and then slipped in a portfolio cover. So you've got each page that could be viewed separately. So my goal a lot of times is to put my own information on it, my name, contact information, so that someone can, if someone removes it from my portfolio, that information stays with it and identifies it as my work and something that that I did, and they can contact me. All right, so another version of this is to use kind of a saddle stitch situation where we have the artwork set up with spreads. So the artwork is laid out side by side within the format so that you can have spreads as needed, or things can be presented together. This would be a saddle stitch. So the spine of the portfolio is printed like a booklet and has staples, so it holds them together. So you need to set up your artwork in that setup. So in this scenario, page numbers matter. You need to make sure that you use multiples of 4 when you're creating these types of booklets, because this is made by printing and then folding and then stitching together separate sheets of paper. And that means that each time you fold a piece of paper, you actually get 4 pages. And each one of those little groups is a set of 4 that are then stapled together in comic book, magazine, or booklet form, right? So you got to make sure that your portfolio is 12 pages, 16 pages, 20 pages, 24 pages, etc., in multiples of 4. All right, so let's look at some of the nuts and bolts of how to set up your page. I'm going to go to this sample, this one here, which is kind of separate pages, and it's set up with a dozen or so pages. Page 1 is identified as the cover. Page 12 is the back cover. This is intended so that the pages would be presented separately or printed separately, and then either bound together with some sort of spiral binding or put into a portfolio sleeve. Now, this is where we can talk about some tips. And the first one I suggest is using master pages. What master pages do for you is they allow you to set up a graphic, a disclaimer, a footer, a description, an image area box, something on each page. And if you use a master page when you set it up the first time, it will duplicate that on every single page. For example, I'm going to click on master page A inside InDesign, and I'm going to draw an empty picture box. And I'm going to say this is the picture area, the picture window for every project I'm going to put inside my book. Next, what I'm going to do is just very basically here, I'm going to draw a little shape. I'm going to color it. And very simply, I'm considering this, just like a footer graphic that's going to be on my page. I could put a little name, page number, whatever I want to do. I could even have my my logo on each page if I wanted to. So let's say I have this little footer color graphic, and I'm going to put my name. Have that there as a dorky little subtitle for each page. And I don't want to get too deep into this because I don't want to bore you with the InDesign steps. But suffice it to say that let's say I have my name, my little footer graphic, and then last but not least, let's say I put a little logo, a repeatable logo here in the corner. and that's going to count as my little logo. Nothing fancy, just that I want that to appear on every single page in my portfolio. Because I used master page A to set this up, now look at when I go into my page area, each page now in that booklet, in that format, have that same footer on every single page. Same location, same style, same everything. That saves a lot of time, and it makes all your pages match, which is what we want. We're OCD. We want our pages to match. We want the fonts to look right. That's why we do it. Now, here's the thing. When you come in, oh, I did forget one little detail. I want to put a description. I think it's important to have a little description, disclaimer, something on each page, not a really disclaimer, but maybe an explanation of your process, a title, whatever you like. So I needed to put a little text box down here. And this is a placeholder. So I'm going to go to the type menu, and I'm going to fill that little text box with placeholder text. And let's say I'm going to change this little text area. I'm going to modify the font. Again, I don't want to waste too much time doing this, but I'm going to go ahead and picking a font. Of course, once I start picking fonts, I get really OCD about it. And I'm going to turn that one into a title. So I'm going to make that one a little bit bigger. And I'm going to shorten it because it's too long. This little Latin, placeholder text is just there to give you something to work with so that you have enough space for your text, and then you can customize it as you go along. Right, so let's say I have that now available typeset on my page. Now if I look on my interior pages, there you have, you see it, it's there. Now, by using that master page to set this up, everything's fixed and locked in place. But I can't grab it. I can't modify it. Well, all I need to do is press a keyboard shortcut to be able to modify each piece. So on an Apple, that's Command and Shift. If I click Command and Shift, I can select that picture box, and it's going to activate it and allow me to place a picture inside it. Same with the text. If I hold Command and Shift on the Mac or Control and Shift on a PC, I can select that text, activate it, and then type over it for that particular page. All right, so the first step is setting up that master page and then going in and modifying and customizing the subsequent pages. Now, here's the thing. Anything you don't touch, like let's say the graphic or the footer, I don't actually touch or change on the different pages. Well, if I go here to the master page and I change a color, change that to red, let's say, it will go through and then update that on the remaining pages. And that's what's really nice about the master page is you can fix that layout and it'll populate to the rest. All right, so that's just a little bit about master pages. The last thing I'll say is that you can have more than one master page. You can also have none. So let's say I want to have an alternate layout. So maybe one of my pages is going to have a different layout, but have similar styling. I can go up here to the page palette and I can create a new master page, and it's going to add in there master page B. And here is where I can double click that and edit and create a new layout. And then once that new layout is done, all I have to do is click on the icon for master page B and drag that down onto the page I want to override, and it will replace whatever's there with the master page B items. And so I can make as many as I want. Or alternately, let's say I need a different cover that doesn't use any of the master page data for the cover. That's when you grab the none square up here in the master page area and drag that down to page 1, let's say, and we make that into a cover, and it removes any of the master page data. So that's really handy for setting that up. All right, let's talk about basic layout settings to make sure that you get the best use of your file. A lot of times, artists and designers will want pages that bleed off the edge. Now, this all depends on your printing availability and what you can do. If you can't cut your prints after you print them, then you won't be able to do a bleed, because there isn't a borderless printing that you can do very easily using maybe a home printer or even something at Staples or somewhere else. So you have to get used to the idea that your basic page layout, if it's going to be 8.5 by 11, has to fit within printing margins. And as a good rule of thumb, I like to use, kind of like a 1/2 inch margin or maybe a 1/4 inch margin for pages that don't bleed, that just stay within the boundary of the paper. But that's just a way of keeping a nice, clean white frame around the edge of your document. On the other hand, if you do want a document that is going to bleed beyond the edge and is going to be exactly 8.5 by 11, but the artwork is going to extend beyond that in a colorful way, you have to set up your document to make sure it can handle bleeds. Then you're going to have to print these pages oversized and trim them down. There's no way around that. You're not going to get borderless printing without trimming. All right, so let's just do a little document setup here. So I'm going to go to the file menu, and I'm going to go to document setup. And here is where I can set the margin. If I want to adjust the margin, like let's say I want to take this down to a 1/4 inch, I can change that to 0.25. I can click the little chain here and it'll force all the margins to match. Then if I want to add the bleed area, I click on the little bleed section, and most of the time you can get away with 1/8 of an inch as your bleed. So that's 0.125 in decimal speak. Or if you want to, be safe, you can do it at 1/4 inch, 0.25, but usually 0.125 is sufficient. I didn't type a decimal, 0.125. There we go. And then I'm going to click OK now, and you'll see how my document has been updated. The margin switched to a 1/4 inch, and it added this red line, this red bleed line around the edge of my document, and that's representing that bleed area. So let's say I'm designing this cover and I have a large image that I'm going to put over the entire background. So I'm going to draw that picture box. I'm going to place my artwork here, and I just am going to grab this old portfolio document, grab that picture, drop it in there. And then I need to make sure that this picture is enlarged to bleed off the edge. So I'm going to use the direct selection arrow, click inside to grab the picture separate from the picture box. And now I'm going to hold Shift and scale up that artwork so it goes to the edge. And notice how I made it so that it goes to the red edge, to the red line. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. So you see how the picture now extends beyond the page border. The page border is that black line. The red line is the bleed area. When we print and then later cut this document, it's going to cut along that black line. Now I have a problem here. This design, the text is too close to the edge. So I actually wouldn't want to leave this way. I would want to move that artwork inward so that the artwork was sitting inside the margin area. The orange could extend beyond the edge, but I wouldn't want the text extending beyond the edge because that'll get cut off and it'll look weird and stupid. Now, this sample image, I did not design for a bleed. I designed it actually to fit inside the printing margin. So I can dial that back and kind of put it in position. But in any case, you need to make sure that you pay attention to that bleed area if you're going to want your images to extend beyond the edge. All right, so that's some of those tips for setting up that document, making sure you got bleeds, making sure you're paying attention to your margins, and that you're using the master pages to set up the artwork so it matches on every subsequent page. Now, the last thing you're going to want to do is to make a printable PDF. That's going to be the simplest way, either to print your portfolio yourself, or to send it to someone else to print. They're going to want a PDF, and it's going to need to be actual size, and it's going to need to include a few printer marks if you're using bleeds. So here, let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go back here to this document that's already made, and I'm going to go ahead to the File menu, and I'm going to create the PDF. So under Document Presets, under Adobe PDF Presets, I can find some pre-made preset PDF properties, say that 3 times fast, which will make my document printable. I'm going to go ahead and select press quality because this is intended to go to a printer. So I select press quality as the preset, and I'm going to expand this and just send it to my desktop because this is a temporary file. I'm going to click save, and after I click save, it's going to let me modify the settings. So I'm going to click save, and it's going to now pull up the PDF settings that I can use to modify the document. Now, if you look at it in general, the general screen, it's just going to pick up all the pages, which is what I want. And I want to double check a couple other of these tabs. First, compression. If I look at compression, because I selected press quality, it's going to set these up to the right size, meaning it's going to compress any oversized images, or it's going to keep any regular sized images at the right dimension. In this case, 300 DPI, to make sure that they're printable and that they look good. So those settings look good. Next, I can check the marks and bleeds. Now, this is where I have to figure out what type of portfolio I'm making. If I'm going to make a portfolio that has white margins around the document, that it's set to print on actual size 8.5 by 11, then I don't need to do anything. I don't want to do anything, actually. The exception is if my artwork extends beyond the edge of the page and I need to print this out oversized and then trim it down to 8.5 by 11. So let's pretend that this document was set up with bleeds. So what I need to do is select crop marks to make sure that I have crop marks appear on the page. And then I need to increase my bleed area so that the graphic extends beyond the edge of the page 0.125. So in actuality, my document is going to now be 8.75 by 11.25. Why is that? Because I extended it 1/8 of an inch all the way around, which equals 1/4 inch. So that means that I have enough extra paper space printed so I can cut it down to the right size in printing. Now, like I said, bleed area, it's a little bit complicated to set up, but it looks awesome. So use it if you can. All right, now that's pretty much all I need to worry about. The rest I can just leave as is. And then I just click export and save that PDF, and I can take it to wherever I need to print. They'll give you a couple warnings here if you're missing images or fonts or whatever, but by making that PDF, it contains it all together, saves it so you don't lose it. Now, the last thing that you're going to want to do as you're building your portfolio is archive it and make sure you have it all together so that the next time you want to work on it, you can modify it and not lose anything. So the last thing I'll mention is packaging your file. Under the File menu is the Package option. So InDesign, because you build multi-page documents with lots of different assets that are placed and combined to build your layout, InDesign has a nasty habit of losing links or disconnecting from those files wherever you happen to store them, and then you move them, and then you open InDesign again and you get a warning, hey, your links are missing. So unless you're really OCD and you're good about saving your files in the right places, it's a good idea for archival purposes to now package your file. So if you go to the File menu and click Package, this is where InDesign is going to collect for you a duplicate copy of all your placed images, your fonts. And it can even include different graphic settings that you need to remember and hang on to. It's going to collect all those things into a new folder, a new bright and shiny folder saved somewhere on your computer. This is excellent because when you archive that folder off in your archival drive somewhere, you know it's not going to lose your fonts or your images. And you can always go back to it, that master copy, and fix anything if there's something wrong. All right, so that's an important step. Make sure that you use this package feature and put your artwork in the right place so you don't lose it. All right, so hopefully that helps you guys get set up. Of course, I'd like to see you use your artistic and graphic design Jedi skills to make something look pretty and presentable. So spend some time working on your typography and your graphic layout, using your own color scheme, using your logo or other things to really dress up your page and make it look interesting. There's nothing more boring than just a plain page with an image in the middle and that's it. You know, you're a graphic designer. It's a good idea to dress up your page, dress up your portfolio, give it a little personality so that it's something unique and interesting. All right, so hopefully that gives you guys some ideas on how to put together your portfolios and how to use the portfolio templates. So good luck, and we'll see you around the verse.